Jai Hind everybody. I am Dr. Rashmi Sharma, working as an associate professor in Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College in the Department of Information Technology. Today we would be discussing one topic of Unit 4 of subject Project Management and Entrepreneurship, which runs as a compulsory course in 8th semester and 7th semester of BTech final year. The concepts which I would be discussing today is what do we mean by the working capital estimates? How do we estimate these particular working capital? What are the different risks and uncertainties in the project evaluation, including what do we mean by risk? What are the known and the unknown risks, and how uncertainty can occur and how we can overcome this particular risk and uncertainties? Then we would be discussing capital budgeting, in which we would be having two different capital budgeting. One is discounting rate and another is non-discounting rate. So the keywords are working capital, risk in the project evaluation, uncertainty in the project evaluation, NPV, that is net present value, and IRR is investment of return of rate of returns. So what are the interest rates or the investment we have done, and what is the rate of return for that? So coming to what do we mean by working capital estimates? So working capital is referred to as the operating capital. That is the capital which I exactly have in my hand. That is the cash, maybe the amount which is in my bank, or maybe in the form of shares which I can sell, or I should say SIPs which I can sell immediately if I require that particular amount. So the working capital should be adequate for the business which we are running. If I have surplus amount of cash, then I have underutilization of my funds. If I have more profit and I'm not investing that profit again in my business, I'm not expanding my business. So the working capital should not be more. If that is more, then I'm underutilizing that particular funds which I have. And if it is less, then I'm overutilizing those particular funds in different operations. So we have to take care of under and overutilization of our cash or the capital which I have it. So there are various determinants which helps in calculating the working capital. First is the raw material inventory. How much raw material is there in my warehouse, and all that I have paid the money for that. I have not taken on particular loans or anything, but I have paid money for that, and that is lying in my warehouse. I have not converted that into the full-fledged products also, so that I can sell them off. And if that is surplus, definitely I have blocked my cash or I have blocked my working capital. If that is not in demand currently, but I have the raw material of that particular product, and I'm predicting in coming 1 year also, I won't be having the forecasting of that particular product, then definitely I have blocked my working capital. Next is work in progress inventory, or definitely if I have 1 lakh product raw material in my warehouse, and approximately 20,000 which is in my pipelining or the production line, then definitely the money which I have blocked is for 1,20,000. Then the number of finished goods which are there in my warehouse, I have not distributed to my vendors also or my distributors also. And if I assume that is 25,000, then 1.45, 1,45,000 products money I have blocked. So I should see what is the turnover of my company, and accordingly I should have the inventory in my raw materials, on my production line, and definitely for my warehouse finished goods also. Then who are the debaters to whom I have given my finished goods on a credit basis, that they can pay after they sell that particular commodity, or how much money I have to pay to my raw material vendors. So I have to look into all those things, and coming to the end I get what is the working capital, or I should say what is the price. Here I am not considering the fixed investment, the machinery, the land, and the other accessories which I have in my company. Working is cash in my hand, not only the cash which is in my bank also, and in my SIPs also. So coming to this, looking into the working capital, definitely I should know the risk and uncertainties in my particular project, so that I can evaluate and I can predict those particular things. So risk is an unplanned event that may affect one or more objectives of my project when they occur. Definitely you cannot be in time, definitely you are off the schedule, definitely you, maybe you are going out of the cost of that particular, because the raw material cost has increased, or there is the scarcity of that particular raw material. You are lagging in the behind because you have not received the raw material, or there is a problem in your machinery. These can be all risks which we have to take into consideration. So the risk is positive if it affects your projects positively, and it is negative if it affects negatively. If it is giving you something, suddenly a particular company was getting blackout in the list, or they were getting it key, they don't have to continue that particular, and they're selling their raw materials, and I took it on a very less inventory also, and the amount was very big and the cost was less. So that risk has affected my project positively. I got 1 lakh raw material at a very minimum price because that company was closing it out. So, and another can be that scarcity of that particular material in the market, and so I have more negative risk. So there are separate risk responses strategies for negative and positive also. The objective of a negative risk responses strategy is that they minimize the impact or the probability, while the positive risk is that they would maximize the chances of or the impact of that particular commodity. So there can be the two types of risk, as I told, known and the unknown risk. Definitely the known risk I have previously identified those particular risks, and knowing that particular risk, I'm taking that mitigation or contingency plan. For the unknown risk, I don't have a contingency plan, I don't have a mitigation plan, because that is unknown, and in that particular case I'm using the management resources or management ideas. So here the known risks are identified during the it is identified during the identify risk process, and there is a contingency plan for the known risk, and you can use that contingency reserve which is there for that particular project to manage those particular risks. For the unknown risk, they are those which couldn't be identified earlier, and there we are using the management reserves to overcome those particular unknown risk. Uncertainty is lack of complete certainty. I don't know, like I can tell that there was a sudden shutdown of 2000 notes at the 8 p.m. The PM Modi told that from tomorrow onwards we won't be giving 2000 notes, and within 10 days you can submit that into the bank. So that was the uncertainty which nobody has thought of. Or the COVID pandemic which was there, that was the uncertainty, that many of the people lost their life, many of the businesses were shut down, shattered. So these are uncertainty. Those are not risk. These are uncertainty which you don't know anything. They are not unknown risk. Definitely the uncertainty, the outcome of any event that is entirely unknown. It cannot be measured or guessed. Did we thought of that particular pandemics would be so wide for 1.5 years? No. So we cannot measure or guess that particular thing. You don't have any background information of that event. We came to know one month back that there is some virus like this, and it is being there in outside India, but it was not hitting India. But when it hit India, definitely that was a, so uncertainty is not an unknown risk. Keep this in mind. Unknown risk is for which we have a plan. For uncertainty, I don't have a plan for that. So in certainty, you completely lack the background information of the event, and even though it has been identified also, I don't know the social cause, I don't know what will be the repercussions of all those things. In case of unknown risk, although you have the background knowledge, you missed it during identifying that particular risk. I have not thought of that thing, but I know that that can be the risk which I can occur, and that can be only 1%. But we have not thought of the closing of that 2000 per note, or the pandemics which broke out. So definitely managing risk is easier because you can identify them, develop a response plan or a contingency plan, and on your experiences also. So as you have experience, you know what all risk can occur in a particular type of project, and then you can have the mitigation or the contingency plan for that. Managing uncertainty is very difficult as previous information is not available at all. Too many parameters is also involved, and you cannot predict that output, what could be the output of this. So conventional risk and uncertainty management involves two components. One is assessment, compromising of threats identification, classification, prioritizing, devising that control, and applying that particular controls also. Identify, then you see what are the threats. If we take that particular action, what can be the classification on the priority basis, it is critical or it's mediocre, it has a very low priority. Then see what are the controls can we have, and then apply those particular controls. So there are several types of risk that occur frequently and regardless of the specifics of the project. So there are three major types of the risk which are involved. First is the cost risk. Definitely when you are going beyond your cost, if I have estimated that the production of a particular product would be 18 rupees, and now due to maybe some taxes has increased, maybe due to raw material price has increased, my 18 rupees product is now coming out to be 22 rupees, and when I was making it in 20 to 18 rupees, I was selling in, this was my selling price. Now if my selling price also increases by the same profit amount, then the company is incurring 4 rupees more on, or if I sell it on 25, 5 rupees more. So you are not having that particular plan. If I have taken an order of 1 lakh particular products and I have fixed the price for 20 rupees, and now my raw material is available and I'm getting a cost of 22 rupees, definitely I'm running that business in the loss of 2 rupees. So there we have common risk is cost. The risk of event that impact the budget, especially those can cause the project to be completed over budget. As I told, the cost estimation is commonly generated risk in this particular case. Schedule, when you are running behind that particular schedule which you have thought of, maybe due to some resources crunch, maybe due to the machinery backlog which is there, machinery breakdown, maybe due to the expert resources is not available in your company, maybe any of the reason, but you are lacking in that particular schedule. The risk of unplanned scheduling conflicts comes into this. Then the performance, the risk of events that cause the project produce results that inconsistent with that particular project specification. I may have thought of I would generate a profit of 2 lakhs, but I'm not able to do that, and the quality of the product is also not up to the mark. So these are three major risks which we have. These are all known risks: cost, schedule, and performance. So we usually have a mitigation plan or a contingency plan for all those things. To prevent a risk for the unplanned risk, the project manager typically follows the ongoing risk management system, which helps them to identify, understand, and respond to the threats and opportunities. So for doing this, you should have these particular steps to be done. You have to identify the risk, and in identification of the risk, you should know what potential of that risk is there. Then you have to assign an ownership of the risk. Either it is related to the production, either it is related with the quality, either it is related with the packaging team, or it is related with the deliverable team. You have to assign the ownership of that particular. And when you assign an ownership, definitely you go into depth of that particular, what was the reason for that particular risk which has occurred, how we can overcome that particular risk, and by the experience of that particular person we can utilize that, we can overcome that particular risk in for future plans. So now for each identified risk, to a team member who will charge with overseeing that threats the opportunity. Although some project managers prefer to assign an ownership after the risk has been analyzed. Then comes, you have to analyze each risk. When you are analyzing each risk, you can understand the driving factors which are involved in your potential and generating those particular potential impacts. You consider the depth and breadth of that particular risk, how much time it would take, how much cost it would take, and what it can affect our company also. So on analyzing this, you evaluate the severity. Maybe it can have it can be a crucial or a critical risk. So this critical risk has to be solved on an urgency basis. So definitely the priority we have to assign. On analyzing, we can identify what is the priority of that particular risk. So on priority, the urgency is seen, and on the similarly you find that severity level, and when it is more severe, that is it is crucial, you solve it on a higher basis. If it is a moderate, you take it on a second bench, and if it is lower, you solve it at the last. Then you respond it. Then it comes, the next step is you have to respond to that particular risk. So respond to your identify risk in accordance with your risk management approach. What approach we have been decided in prior to that, and either by taking steps to prevent the risk or the event of occurring and minimizing the impact of that particular risk to occur. Then monitor the risk management strategies and make changes as per need for the forthcoming risk. So these are the steps for the known risk. Now comes, what do we mean by capital budgeting? Definitely for a big project, I should require the capital. As I have the working capital, I have identified the risk and uncertainties. Now, if I have that particular capital, how I should budget it? So there are two different techniques on which we can do a capital budgeting. One is non-discounting and another is discounting technique. In a non-discounting, we are not considering time value of money. See, we are not considering. Okay, when we consider a time value of money, then it is discounting. So in discounting, you have an example. When you purchase a car, okay, and you take the insurance, if assume that your car is of 15 lakh, on road the price was 15 lakh, the next day you go to sell this particular car, your car would not go in 15 lakh, it may go into 14 lakhs. That is a depreciation, time value money. Once it is on road, it has lost its some value. Next, you have a depreciation. Next year, when you go for this particular insurance, your car value again decreases depending on if you have accidents, number of kilometers the car has driven, and on so on and so forth. And now the value comes out to be 12 lakh. Assume after 1 year, the value comes. So this is time value money. The depreciation is going on, or in the land, the appreciation of that land is going on. So either the depreciation or the appreciation of any commodity is time value of money. If it is stagnant, it's not changing anywhere, then it is non-discounting. That is, time value is not been considered. So definitely the capital budgeting techniques are non-discounting and discounting. In non-discounting, I have two payback period methods and another is average rate return. And in discounting, net present value, profitable index and interest rate of return. So when coming to the discount, non-discounting, this is the first method, payback period. Assume the payback period is the easiest method. I have taken a loan of 200 lakhs and I have to return it in 4 years. So 200 divided by 4 gives me 50 lakhs. I'm not giving any interest, flat. Payback method is flat. I'm not discounting in non-discounting. So that is the fixed asset from the project which is being invested. So 1 year, first year I have paid back 50 lakhs, till second year again 50 plus, that comes out to be 100 lakhs, then again 50, then comes out to be 150, and then again 50, that comes out to be 200. So the formula for this is Y0 is number of periods. I told 4 years, then this Y0 would be 4. NCU CVF is the cumulative cash flow of Y0. What amount I have paid? This is for the, payback period just before. If it was 4, then this comes out to be 3. Till third period, I have paid 150 lakhs. And CF is payback for the cash flow for that is 50. So this comes out to be the payback period. Now calculate average rate of return. Average rate of return is the ratio of average return to average investments. So average return is cash flow for n periods divided by n. So you are taking the average of those particular returns which I am getting. So it considers the cash flow after the payback period, considers the working capital and the salvage value. So the ratio of the average return and the average investments. So here it is, the average investment, this was average return. So this value I have calculated, that is the average of all the returns, that is the cash flow which is coming in. For if I am taking it for 10 years, I have different C0 to C9 divided by my 10 and 10 values which I am getting it. And for investment, it is half of initial investment initial investment plus terminal cash flow. This terminal cash flow is working capital plus the salvage amount, which if I am taking it that I am closing my business, what is the working capital I have in my hand or in my bank in SIPs, and if I waive off all this particular machinery, what amount would I be getting after selling those? That is the salvage value. So initial capital is working capital plus fixed investment, and for weighing of working capital plus salvage value. So it would be 2 working capital plus fixed investment plus salvage value divided by half. That would be working capital plus half of fixed investment plus salvage values. What was the fixed investment? Maybe the land, maybe the machinery and all those things. So this is the formula which I get for the average investments, and this was which I got for average return. Now the time value of money for 20,000 for 3 years or 20,000 now, which offer will you select? After 3 years I am paying you 20,000 or currently I am paying you. Definitely everyone will go for the money now. This shows that you want all those particular time matters. When time matters, then discounting factor doesn't take money time into consideration. So present value of money is more as compared to the equivalent amount. An year back, I was getting a sugar at a rate of 50 rupees per kg, but now I'm getting 70 rupees per kg. So the value of the same commodity a year back, maybe in 2023, was 50 rupees, and now it is in 2024, 70 rupees. We say that महंगाई बढ़ गई है because time is money. So money, which present value of the money is more as compared to the equivalent amount in future. The time value of money's potential to grow in the time. If I take this potential, then it has increased 40% from 50 to 70, 40% increment. 50 पे 20% क्या तो 20 आया. Money available today is worth more than the same amount of money in the future, so it is called as the earning potential. कितना बढ़ गया, that is the earning potential. If we keep that particular amount as a FD in our account, if the interest which I am getting after 1 year or the 2 year, that is the this is earning potential of that particular money or the FD in the bank. The principal asserts that money can earn interest and grow, and so any amount of money is worth more than sooner a amount so person have is. So time is money. Profitability in index and net present value, these are all discounting factors. So see, these are discounting because I have these net profitability index and this. So this is definitely a discounting. So value is deteriorating as the money is increasing. So you have net present value is most common approach used in the आज की रेट पे कितना है, कल जितना होगा is another thing. How it is costing today, net present value, what is that? So it's simple to use and evaluate the basis of wealth examination objectives. So the difference between the present value is cash flow and the present value of the cash outflow. So inflows is all the incomes. Incomes can be from your good selling. Income spent can be from your interest coming from your FDs or your SIPs. All are cash inflows, and outflows are your investments, your expenditure. So difference between expenditure, the difference between the present value of the cash inflow and the present value of the cash outflow. So that is inflow, cash inflow minus cash outflow is the difference, and you get it as a profitability index. So profitability index, inflow and outflow, it is the ratio of the inflow and outflow. So cash inflow upon cash outflow, that is profitability index, and difference is net present value. What is the net difference between cash inflow and cash outflow, and the ratio is called as the profitability index. So advantages of NPV is considered all cash flows. Inflow and outflows both are considered. Here inflow and outflow both are considered. Consider time value money. Definitely you are taking it as a discounting factor. then computes contribution towards wealth creation, because the amount has increased from 50 rupees, you have gone to 70 rupees, that is increase in 40%, and allows expected change in cost of capital, how it is been changing and how the value is also changing. The limitation of net present value is it requires predetermination of discounting factor, how much amount it is degrading or it is increasing. As I told you, you can have depreciation. Depreciation is reduction in reduction. When reduction is there, then discounting factor is negative. I should say it is negative. And when appreciation, that is increment. And when increment is there, your R is discounting factor is increasing, that it is a positive value. So you have to take into this particular. So disadvantage is I should know this discounting factor earlier. Either it is 10%, either it is 20%. As I told, for the insurance of a company, it's normally 10%. But if your car has went to 2 accidents during that particular financial year, definitely this would decrease from 10 to 20%. So it has some particular values, and then the discounting factor is there. Then present value, any amount that occurs at the beginning of the problem is the present value, and we here the zero is taken as the baselining. Future value, you are predicting what would the future value of that particular product. The last cash flow is generally the future value, and here it is the baselining for this. So present value and the future value of a product is being determined. Annuity payment is definitely done on a yearly basis. Annuity, as the word literal meaning is annually, but in the terms of business, it can be quarterly, monthly, weekly, maybe fortnightly. And when you consolidate, when you combine all those particular value, so it's taken alone the future value, but together they form a annuity. When I take quarterly, monthly, I take a bundle of this, and then they make the annuity value. The important that annuity value is the sum of the present values for the interest rate for n years, as it starts from the first year. Discounting factor is with this. So it is a way to calculate the net present value. It is a weighing term, multiply future income or the losses to determine the precise factor by which the value is multiplied to get today's net present value. This takes into account the time value of the money. The investment rate of return, IRR, is defined as the discounting rate which delivers a net present value equal to 0. We have a difference of 0. So the true interest yields can be an investment. A simple decision making criteria can be stated to accept a project if its internal rate of return exceeds the cost of capital, and rejected if the IRR is less than the cost of capital. So if return is less, how would I take that particular project? If return is more, that means if return is more means I have a profit. So for profit, I can take the business. For this, there is a loss. Why would I take a project which is running in the loss? So you should have a positive IRR. This is the formula which you are doing. Here I have a NPV 0. That is for the positive, it is 0, and for negative, it is 1. This is positive, and R0 is the rate at which we have taken as a positive value. So concluding, we have discussed the various risk and the uncertainties, known risk, unknown risk, how uncertainty occur, what do we mean by working capital estimation, and we have discussed different capital budgeting forms, that is discounting and non-discounting. In discounting, it comes out to be net present value, it comes out to profitability index, then it comes investment rate of return, and in non-indexing, it comes out to be the payback period and the annuity one. So thank you that this particular video was taken from these, the content was taken from these 3 references. Thank you for this video.